We'll be starting in a minute. Okay, hello. Welcome to the third year of the Startup Showcase. Today, there will be 7 finalists who have been selected from dozens of applicants, and they'll have the opportunity to present a 5-minute pitch on stage to our panel of esteemed judges. I'd like to introduce the judges to you. First up is Aaron Crow, VP of Engineering at Spider Tech. Aaron? All right. And Aaron is the head of Spider Tech, building the world's first automated customer service platform for law enforcement agencies and fire departments. Spider's platform allows the police and others to serve their communities better every day. Among other things, Aaron cares about strong engineering culture, team building, and surfing. Okay, our next judge is Arvind Murthy, founder and chief strategist of Eartha South. Come on out. Come on down. Arvind is an entrepreneur with experience in brand building and social media. He's the founder of Eartha South, a digital agency that helps startups and established global brands connect with and craft brand stories that resonate with social media and in-person activations. He's an active startup advisor and early-stage investor with a focus on consumer wellness, personal care, and the future of food. Oh, that's pretty good range. And our next judge, Dr. Anna Mengel, a member of the faculty of the UCLA MS Online and Curriculum Innovation Advisors at Pepperdine University. Dr. Mengel teaches AI, transportation, and program management at UCLA. She also advises higher ed institutions, including Pepperdine University, to bring innovation to their curriculum in the digital era. In her previous roles as ED at the Easton Center at UCLA Anderson Business School, she played a key role in bringing technology into the curriculum. She's published 4 books, papers, and articles, and speaks at conferences and forums. Thank you. And our next judge, Ethan Yao, Innovations Analyst at Blast. All right. Ethan is a financial technologies innovator with more than 10 years of experience in financial technologies. He has 13 financial technology-related patents and has co-founded several financial technology platforms such as Blast.com, a fintech savings and investment platform. Aromatic.io, a software and a service accounts receivable automation and management platform, and more. Ethan is currently leading esports innovation efforts and agency digital transformation at Damage Esports in Los Angeles. Our next judge is Michael Rivera. Come on out, Michael. Founding director, USC Marshall Venture Fund at Marshall School of Business, USC. Michael's the founding director of USC Marshall Venture Fund. The Venture Fund is an industry-agnostic venture capital fund investing in early-stage startups created by USC students, alumni, faculty, and the staff, or those that stem from intellectual property generated at the university. Michael's active in the Southern California ecosystem as a mentor with Backstage Accelerator, Quake Capital Accelerator, and Blackstone Launchpad Accelerator. Our next judge is Minnie Ingersoll, partner at 10110. Come on out. Minnie is a longtime Silicon Valley product leader and operations executive with experience building and scaling impact through elegant technical solutions and great teams. She recently moved back to LA after 20+ years in the Bay Area, first at Google, and then as a founder and CEO of Shift, an online marketplace for used cars. She's learned a lot of lessons, hiring hundreds of employees and scaling to 100 million+ businesses, and dollars in business, and is excited to be part of the growing tech ecosystem in Southern California as an early-stage investor. Also, you might recognize Minnie Ingersoll's voice when she talks about she's the host of LA Venture Podcast. Okay, Our next judge is Panus Isaac, VP Data at Headspace. As a thought leader in the big data world, Panus has pursued several roles and responsibilities with a passion for analytics, business strategy, and engineering. Panus was previously head of analytics and data services at Edmunds.com. Okay, those are judges. Give them a hand. And I'll get back to the mic here. Hold up your certificates for the photo opportunity. Okay, there's the dream team. And as they're doing that, let me tell you how the showcase works. The prizes for today's showcase are as follows. The top 3 teams win cash prizes. First place, $1,000 and $1,000 credit from 99 Starts. 99 Starts is a global on-demand conference content platform bringing users the very best keynote talks. And the first place winner also gets a one-on-one feedback and strategy session with a VC from 10110 Ventures. And second place, they win $500 and a $500 credit from 99 Starts. Third place, $250 and $200 credit from 99 Starts. So one thing to know is that the judges will make a decision now, and that will be announced at the networking event later today. So you'll all be in suspense till then. The other thing I'd like you to know is that our procedure here is that someone from each of the startups will come out, give a 5-minute pitch. There'll be 5 minutes for the judges to ask questions, and then also 3 minutes for a few questions from the audience, and then we'll move on. So we're ready? We're ready, everybody? Okay. Great, let's go. The first picture is from M2M Bell. So Michael, you can come out now. And M2M Bell is a group of technologists at USC commercializing technology invented for cable TV at the Illinois Institute of Technology. They're basically in the IoT space, and I won't spoil any more of their talk. And
thank you. Thanks, everybody. So my name's Jonathan. I'm a New Jersey boy, and I grew up there, where the Bell logo meant a lot because my dad was at AT&T headquarters in Basking Ridge, and my mom sold Yellow Page advertising. So the reason I chose this logo for our startup is because it represents a time when the quality and security was one that we knew before election hacks and before power plant threats and before connected car attacks. The fundamental problem is that there has never been a universal switch architecture. The carriers, the TV stations, and the cable networks have had about 3 decades to fix it, and now they just want a few more years to build out 5G, which has to be the nuttiest plan of the 3 in the telecom switch swap, unless we're ready for another Alzheimer's and autism spike with pulse EMF emitters on every block of our city. Now, framing the problem around speed is a good problem to have if you're in the hardware business, because every time you come out with a new protocol, then we, the lucky consumers, have to go out and buy a new router. And that's why M2M Bell is focused on fixing the root cause that stops all of that insanity. The bottom line is that quality and security are functions of packet efficiency, and our technology, distributed queuing, is near perfect at all times. That's why we don't have the second half of the bell-shaped curve. Our first demonstration was on a Zigbee radio in Barcelona, and that won an IEEE award for taking the packet efficiency from 50% to 98%. The second demo was at Bucknell on a LoRa radio this time, and that same efficiency improvement improved capacity of a single antenna from 1,500 competing devices to 5,700 competing devices, all vying for network time at the exact same instance. So this is how virtual networks are always shown in the cloud. You know, it looks like everything's connected to everything. But to be clear, none of the carriers are building a real live physical 5G mesh network that looks like this. If they did, there'd be no reason for carrier backhaul or to run their carrier backbone. So my hat goes off to the Forbes graphic artist for drawing what the M2M Bell network will look like, because we have the only technology that lets a real physical mesh network get stronger as it gets larger. For LTE radios, independent studies have proven stable performance at 15,000 competing devices. And while the quote from the IEEE article speaks for itself, there's another massive component to this story. It's the massive energy savings, the reduction that comes from not sending the same packet over and over and over until it goes through. In fact, when we combine our technology with energy harvesting, a wireless sensor network on our network can run forever, and that makes perpetual data collection a reality. Our competition's messaging is similar to ours. Helium just launched in Austin, Texas, and they call it peer-to-peer, but it's only peer-to-peer in the cloud. None of their devices actually talk directly to each other, and none of the hotspots form a mesh network with each other. Their hub retails for $495, and the owner of the hub gets paid in helium coin for relaying data to the cloud. We're just not sure how the carrier ISP is going to react, because they typically don't like when consumers resell their services. The marketplace. AT&T is projecting $6 per year per device. Satellite upstarts like Fleet are projecting $2 per year. So at what point do we just say that connectivity is an included feature of the device? You know, like your car radio. You turn it on and the signal is just there. Our business model is Linux meets Dolby. It really doesn't matter to us who builds the base station and sells it, because if we use the razor analogy, the base stations are the handles, and the licensing comes from the blades. So we have the answer to some pretty big questions, like, can we plug a Wi-Fi hub into the old phone jack in your house and have it be powered from the central office so that our networks stay up in a power outage? Yes. Can we group requests for popular content onto a single channel and transmit once instead of 10,000 streams? Yes. And finally, if a bunch of long-range airwaves were unlicensed for free use by the FCC in 2008, then where the hell is the global IoT radio? It should be obvious by now that the FCC, the carriers, their equipment makers, and the standards bodies do not operate in the public's best interest. So we say, if we can get data from the first party to the second party without the third party, then let's, because it's just air, and we already own it. Thank you.
Should we ask questions? I will.
Please.
Okay. I think what you're building is incredibly impressive. I'll just ask one question. I do also have grown to believe that go-to-market is actually more important than product. And so my question is going to be to tell me about the go-to-market here, because there's a lot of friction to disrupting an ecosystem. Sure. And I'd love to know how you're going to build that necessary traction.
Yeah, our go-to-market, of course, is in the IoT because it is a greenfield space still. There is no global standard like Wi-Fi is the global standard of what it does. But for every one of your interest areas, whether we're talking about public safety, we certainly don't want firefighters having to depend on a centralized network where if a cell site goes down, they're all lost. We want their communications to be able to relay from the guy who might be stuck behind a concrete wall through a guy who isn't. So, you know, that mesh network becomes very important at that point. You know, if we're talking about elderly people in their homes, that's a phenomenal application to keep them in their homes longer. But then we need to have quality of service, which is something that doesn't exist in the IoT today, because a heart monitor and a pulse ox monitor don't give the same type of data, and we need to be able to support QoS and priority traffic.
I'd like to riff on Minnie's question a bit. So I was wondering about how you might, what are your chances and what are your scenarios for iterative rollout? So I saw in one of your slides you mentioned other cities, but I'm wondering if there's more dimensions to that. Like, would you start with a particular type of town first, or maybe
Sure.
would there be ships, or what are your options there?
Right, and we're building an ecosystem. So we want to do that right here at USC's campus. Our first antenna will go up here because USC already has the software-defined radio team, which is an award-winning team. They already have the blockchain society. They already have the artificial intelligence groups. These are all distributed applications that want to run 100% at the edge, but they can't today because they still have to talk to a data center. If we take the data out of the center and move it to the edge of the network on attached servers, then we've got 100% distributed application on a 100% distributed control network. There is no middle to that network. There is no man-in-the-middle attack to that network because there's no middle.
Who do you aspire to be?
Who?
Who do you aspire to be?
Alexander Graham Bell. No.
In terms of your company as well.
Well, when I say Linux meets Dolby, we're serious about that. We aspire to have an open source developer community. It'll get kicked off by the grad students who create the initial designs here on campus. But we believe that no country should buy telecommunications equipment from another country if indeed they have the ability to build it themselves. So that's on one hand. On the Dolby side of the equation, they're processing packets and sending them to a speaker, and they get a fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory rate for that. We're processing packets and sending them to an antenna, so it's a very similar analogy. The already FCC-approved technologies stay exactly the same. We don't change the antenna technologies one bit. We're just a packet shipping system.
So this is about your financials. You stated that you need about $100,000 pre-seed and $1 million seed. Do you believe that is enough money to fully commercialize, and how much do you personally believe it will cost to fully commercialize?
Yeah, well, I can't tell you exactly what it will cost. I can tell you it won't be that expensive, because if we look at the experimental base stations that have been built so far, the one that Bucknell built cost $85 for a Raspberry Pi with a LoRa hat. $85 base station. That's like 1% of the cost of a commercial, cellular base station. Once we add additional radios to that and an attached server, we'll be looking at about a $200 build cost.
How many people are on your team right now?
How many?
How many people on your team?
Three. So Janavi, she's our chief systems architect. She's right up there. That's my sneaky slide that we put after the last slide. So Janavi's our chief systems architect. She'll be the one doing the coding. And all of the rules for mobility and all of the rules for coexistence for legacy devices to work on our network for free, those rules have all been written. They just need to be coded. So that's our next technical development stage. And Asim is from the Marshall Business School. He is a go-getter and a millennial. So, he is the one who got us onto Uber's IoT Roadshow. And those are the kinds of strategic partners that we're looking for, because if they could have a device that they could plug into the onboard diagnostic port in their car, then they don't need carrier telemetry to know where their drivers are.
Thank you. We're out of time for judges' questions. And we have time for a few audience questions. If you can come to the microphones at either of these aisles.
Can I speak? Okay. Yes. Hi, my name is Joe Long, and I would like to know, for your technical platform, have you been awarded any U.S. patents?
Yes. Yeah, we licensed 4 patents that came from Illinois Institute of Technology when the technology was first invented for cable television. You know, the engineers there could see that internet protocol was coming on strong, and they were going to need a network that could do asynchronous internet protocol and synchronous digital video broadcasting at the same time on a single channel. Of course, the cable networks didn't go that route, and they had to superimpose Ethernet gear on top of DOCSIS, which is 2 networks to move 1 packet. The patent that was awarded in 2015 is the first applied research patent, and that's based on the 4 fundamental patents and the work that was done in Barcelona that got the IEEE award.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Do you envision a need for a new network protocol, like IPTCP protocol for your network, or you're working with TCP/IP?
What type of protocol?
Well, networks protocol, like ISO protocol, 7 layers.
We want to leave everything that can stay the same exactly the same.
Okay.
You know, from our perspective, internet protocol is right above us because we're at layer 2. Then there's the top of layer 2, which has to stay exactly the same if internet protocol is going to look down and expect to see what it sees.
Okay.
And below us, the physical network stays exactly the same. We do specify some physical network rules in wireless, because you have to, but we're technically independent of the physical layer, so we don't care if it's fiber, copper, or wireless.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Give him a hand. Great job. Okay, that was great. Our next picture is from Lifescope. They're makers of a platform that visualizes a user's online transactions.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? So I know everybody in this audience reads the news. So I don't have to tell you that the platforms you use today, you can't trust. And I don't have to tell you that you are not in control of your personal data and how it is used. But I can tell you something new, which is the situation is even worse than you know. Because not only do we have all these current problems, there's another problem with your personal data, which is it's barely usable, really. Imagine the vital message you get. I'm sure you have gotten this vital message before. It's got a document in it, or it's got an address you have to know. Stacy sent it. You have to know this information in 20 minutes, and you can't remember, hey, did she send it in an email or a text message? Was it on LinkedIn? Was it on Slack, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat? Where the hell did she put it? And I'm going in and out of apps, trying to find this vital piece of information, trying to remember, is it in Google Drive or is it in Dropbox? Is it in OneDrive? Is it in iCloud? It's a nightmare because our applications are not built the way, they're not built for us. They're built for the people who made them. Next slide. I don't know if I got a clicker. Is it over here? This has all changed with Lifescope. Lifescope is a personal database. It goes through all of your devices, all the services you use, and your web browser to build you 5 simple lists. Everywhere you go, everyone you interact with, everything physical in the world you interact with, everything digital in the world you interact with. And we put that together as a list of events in your life that we track in time and space. It's a private database of you, completely built open source to give you your own personal digital memory. And here's what it looks like. Here's the dashboard of me. I can search myself. I can see all the people I care about. I can pin answers, easy as making a search and saving it for all the interesting things I care about. And I can tag anything in my life and create and share streams. And this is it right here. Easily and automatically search, organize, and share my life. Just an Instagram feed of everything. You can see over here on the far right, this is just one example of all the songs I listen to. YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, VLC, all of them in one place. Just me. All the music I care about. 100 other things you could do with it, but only 5 minutes to tell you all about it. Here's another view of me. It's a map of me everywhere I go. Not just a feed, but here you go. This is me in Southern California. This is everywhere I go and everything I do and where I am most. You can see I sure love West LA. That's where all the parties are. Yeah. Pretty cool, right? We can even do crazier stuff. With your personal database, your imagination's limitless. Imagine spawning a globe right in the middle of the room in augmented reality. I touch it, one of the panelists touch it. In red, we see everywhere we've both been to. In blue, we see everywhere we've both been to at the same time. I just met somebody with our personal databases. Go into virtual reality, we can hop into a 4-dimensional Google Earth. You want to take somebody back to your trip to Bali from 2008? Boom, you're in Bali from 2008. The aerial data looks like it does from 2008. The street view looks like it does from 2008. You're on the beach in 2008. There's the photos you took in 2008. There's a trail leading up from the restaurant over to your hotel, and you're there with your friends, digitally storytelling from your personal database. Well, virtual reality is a little antisocial. We could grab some of these awesome augmented reality, virtual reality tech that's coming, the sensors that are going to inundate our entire lives with rich photos and videos. Here's a steampunk time machine I just threw in my living room to show everybody my trip to San Francisco. And I can do this on my phone or one of these crazy headsets. And this just shows the limitless potential of your personal database. This is showing off how we've been starting to do amazing experiments on top of Lifescope that allow you to do machine learning and AI on yourself, actually train and infer off your own personal information so you can gain insights, do predictions, make suggestions based on how you behave. Now, I know you're all sold. I know you're all sold on this, so sign up now for free at lifescope.io. If you want to get even more information, download our app for Windows, Mac, iPhone, Android. They're $3 a piece. And in the coming months, we're going to have a $10 a month subscription that gives you enhanced personalization, enhanced insight, enhanced security, enhanced AR features, and a $50 a month version, which lets you run as much machine learning on yourself as you want. And that's Lifescope. Sign up now. I know I ran a bit over.
So what are you doing with our data?
Say it one more time.
What are you doing with our data? What are you doing with our data?
Oh, what are you doing with our data? I'm doing nothing personally. So when you sign up for Lifescope, you get your own database that only you can access. It's isolated and salted just for you. I am running an honest business. It's a subscription company where I am selling service and support to and over-the-top features, but I don't get between you and your data. I'm not selling it to other people. I'm not going in there, and I couldn't even get at your information if I wanted to, and I don't want it. I want to empower everybody on the planet to get their own personal digital memories.
You did mention privacy in the beginning, right? It seemed like you alluded to that as a concern, and I totally get that you intend for your operation to be private and secure. I wasn't sure, though, if you're somehow implying that by using this product that somehow like I might be more secure on other existing platforms, or
So we're working with the best and brightest in personal data right now. Data transfer project at Google, Solid at MIT, Sovereign Hyperledger, and the Linux Foundation. And we're trying to plot a path of how you can take sovereignty of your own data and then build a new ecosystem of apps that respect your information. We're the first step. We're actually helping you take back your information from these disrespecting companies and platforms. So then we can move towards a more just ecosystem. And the first step is actually understanding what's out there on you and getting it back. And that's what we're starting with.
Piggybacking on that question, so assuming that you have access to your own data, how can I control it? Who get access to that data? Can I make sure that the only certain companies can use the data, or where it's being sent? Can I see any of those things?
Yes. So first things first, we take great care in both the way we make the software and we deploy it. We do it all very publicly to show you that only you have access to it when you're collecting, storing, and exploring your information. If you want to connect it to a third-party service, we've built a platform that is we're building very special technology that builds these air gaps and these airlocks and sandboxes, so you can have an interaction with a third-party company. Imagine a reputable e-commerce alternative, an alternative Amazon, and you type in fishing, and then the e-commerce company says, hey, I'd like to know everywhere you've been fishing and everywhere you're gonna fish, and all the fishing gear you own, so I can give you a perfect recommendation for some fishing gear, but it's all going to exist in this airlock where when the transaction's done, I either make the sale or not with the e-commerce provider, and the data chucks out the window. It gets destroyed, and none of my data leaks out to this third party. And we're building entire systems on that of how you could do such a transaction without, submitting to the digital panopticon, letting vulture capitalism have their way with your data.
Who do you see as your competition?
Well, the top tech companies, I think, are very happy with the incumbent way things are. I think that there's a very select few people in the world who are trying to solve this problem the way I'm doing, and I wouldn't call them competition as much as we're all tiny collaborators coming together trying to figure out what the future of this is going to look like. I think that what my team is doing as far as actually putting the tools into users' hands today sets us apart of anybody else in the space. But yeah, I'd say the competition is the incumbency. It's the tyranny of the incumbency, trying to make you feel okay with the way things are. Anything else? Anybody else? I love questions.
Time for one more judge question.
How hard is it to pull the data from all of these different sources?
So that actually took a great deal of work over the number of years to be part of the API economy, to actually get Chrome and Firefox and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, the GDPR service and group in Brussels, and all these different organizations, and my lawyers to actually go forth, do all the right work to get access. We're actually listed as a GDPR backup service, and we're part of the self-sovereign movement, so I can go on behalf of my users to Facebook or Google and say, on behalf of them, I want their data for them. And that took a long time and a lot of effort, and I'm very proud of what we've done.
So how do you manage the data privacy on your platform when the APIs that you're connecting to, say, is Facebook? That's the more questionable aspect in the equation.
Long story short, we start with the user's the only one that's going to get access, and we're doing this for the sake of backing up. I could have a longer conversation offline, but essentially GDPR opened up the door to allow us unlimited access on behalf of the user. And it's legally required for anybody who wants to do work in Europe. But there's a long conversation on that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any audience questions if you'd like to move up to the microphones? Okay.
Nobody?
Going?
Are you all sold? Who's signing up for a Lifescope account? Yeah, better. Yeah.
Few takers. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you. And our next pitch is from Reasi, which is an easier way to buy and sell real estate. Come on down.
Hi.
You're on.
Hi, so my name's John Kang. I'm CEO and co-founder of Reesy. So what we do is we automate property closings so that you can buy and sell real estate just using your phone. So, but at the same time, we're also modernizing and fixing a terribly broken process in real estate. So, if you've ever wondered why home buying sucks and why you've never heard anyone rave about the process, it's really because of one thing, something called escrow. So, escrow is a job that stitches together all the loose ends in a transaction, things like the mortgage, the title insurance, the money itself, the down payment, the documents, the mountain of documents, and pulls it all into one final closing day. And today it's expensive because it's a manual process. You're paying somebody 20 to 30 hours to push through this paper-based ordeal. So, holistically, also this process is very awful because today buyers' down payments are getting stolen by the billions through something called wire fraud. So that's exactly why we created Reesy, to bring convenience, efficiency, and security to this process. Users can click to get their documents. So users can, we streamline the documents for all our participants on the platform. We handle all the money deposits, and you get real-time tracking into your transactions until they close. So users to get started, they just click on our website, create their accounts, create documents, sign them, make deposits right into our escrow accounts. You can collaborate real time with all the other participants in the transaction, your broker, realtor if you have them, other vendors, and then close with automation and security. So it's pretty simple. We service our primary customers are the portals and end customers. So portals could be brokers, and they could also be websites. So on the portal end, you can set up the environment, the transaction workspace for all your clients and the vendors, and manage your deal flow, and it's kind of like a CRM system. On the end consumer side, if you're a buyer or seller, you have customized deal dashboards. So you can manage all your transactions and deploy money directly into each of the transactions as you see fit. So real estate's one of the largest markets in the world today. We're targeting residential and vacant land. Together, they earn escrow companies today about $12 billion annually. So it's a pretty big market, just in escrow itself, but it's also the gateway into much bigger fees into the transaction. But what's good for us, though, is that it's a highly fragmented market, and it's because the driving force there is the high variable costs to do a transaction, and that's really our approach. Our approach is a low marginal cost into the industry. That's our approach vector, and this is the reason why we can scale and grow. We've eliminated over 90% of the cost there, just through the automation of manual work. So we can do a transaction for $150 versus $1,800 done the old way. So a pretty big savings and improvement in pricing and costs. But more than that, it allows us to build our business the right way. So growing a company, that's really what it's about, growing the right way, rather. So to illustrate, if an incumbent escrow company were to get 100 new deals next month, they'd have to hire about 10 new escrow officers, whereas we would do it for one extra hire. So that's why we can that's why these projections are achievable. So we have the necessary, we have a complete team on the tech side and operational side, with all the domain expertise and skill we need. But I think more than that, I'd rather focus on what we've done together. I think more than anything, what we accomplish is really what differentiates us as a company. And we've done a lot in we've done a lot in a very short time. So we launched in March. In that time, in that 5 months since we launched, we've serviced about 50 unique customers, over 42 transactions. August right now is tracking to about 25 deals right now. But I think more importantly, we found product market fit with our beachhead market, which is land investors, vacant land investors. So practically every land investor that we've talked to has uploaded their entire deal flow to our platform, which is very encouraging behavior. So beyond that, we've also been endorsed by a lot of the most important players in this industry for our business. So we're backed by Metaprop VC, which is a leading property tech investor in this space. We forged a relationship with First American, which is probably the most tech-forward Big Three title underwriter in the United States. And we've also been nominated for an innovation award by Inman News, probably the leading residential real estate publication. So we've successfully transcended the complexities of both the operational and digital worlds. We're a break from tradition, which is a great thing for the industry, a very necessary change for the industry. We're Reesy. We make real estate transactions easy. Thanks, and I'd be happy to take some questions.
Thank you. Judges?
Can you go back to the slide on cost reduction?
Sorry, what's that?
On cost reduction, it had $2,000, and then
yeah.
Can you just I'm not following that.
Yeah. So the left side is the incumbent's cost structure. So I would say $1,800. They have about a 10% margin. $2,000 is the price they offer for the average transaction of about $250,000 purchase price in the U.S. So that's what they charge for escrow alone. $1,800 is what they have to pay out on their end to make this a profitable.
And then on your side?
On our side, our cost structure is $150. This is marginal cost, not our fixed. This doesn't include our fixed cost portion, but our incremental cost is really just about there's a few hours of manual work that we have a hard time getting over right now, but we've eliminated a good chunk of it right off the top.
Gotcha. Okay, so essentially if I understand it right, you're disintermediating traditional escrow companies.
Yes.
By selling this product to real estate agents or brokerage firms, that type of thing?
Yes. So we're an escrow company. Yeah.
In real estate, time is money. How much time are you guys saving?
So on our end, we're saving about 17 hours to 27 hours, depending on the operations of the incumbent. So internally, we're saving a lot of hours directly. We're saving the broker a lot of time too, because the biggest question that brokers or even loan officers get is, what's the status of my transaction, my loan, where are we? You can just have them click a link, and then they have real-time access to that question. So that question, we estimate probably like 3-4 hours per transaction, but I think it could easily be more. We're also saving the vendors a lot of work too by streamlining the communication back and forth between like title versus to the customers.
I think I remember how the transaction works, sort of, but there's paperwork. But then for the payment and the mortgage, that aspect, how does the technology, is there sort of a tech that was hard to build there, or how did you do that?
The tech is not too hard to build, but getting past the regulation, that was really tough. So we got past that. It's really just about bringing convenience and streamlining all the data leakage.
Can you explain the regulation piece that what you had to build to be compliant?
Yeah, so we have to get an escrow license. That's the first thing. We've also had to comply to our banking partners' requirements. They tend to be pretty stringent, so it's submitting basically our entire corporate information to them and making sure that our plan is growing according to what they're comfortable with. They also track all our payment usage, payments on our platform, so making sure that everything is transacted without any loss or any risk, and then kind of going from that point up to bigger property values. So it's been painful, but not for like what you would think. It's been painful because of the third-party regulatory requirements.
Is that escrow license, is that a state license? So
Yes.
as you scale, are you going to have to do that times the other 49 states if you go national?
Yeah, so we'll have to get an escrow license or have an exemption in every state. But the good thing for our beachhead market is that the top 10 states pretty much do like over 50%, 60% of the volume for vacant land, which is where we're launching in. So it's not that much work. California is by far the hardest place to get a license.
So what stops from other competition and get into the same business model?
Okay, yeah. So right now there are about 5 other competitors. The reason why you don't see like 50 is because there is a significant operational hurdle to incorporate all of that workflow of the document, streamlining all the edge cases around the documents, so curing title. So there is quite a bit of complexity in getting a transaction done by itself without the tech, and then merging that into the tech is a big barrier by itself. Down the road, what prevents other competitors from entering is partnerships is one thing. So something that the relationship we forged with First American is the first step into something more formal. But having a streamlined title communication back and forth between escrow and the record department and insurance department over at the title company is a big improvement. And the same thing that goes with the lender, getting the mortgage integration down. That'll be a moat too. That's something we're looking to do when we get into homes. And also the market. There is a network effect that is at play here too. So as we grow and mature, that'll be another.
Okay, we can take another judge question. If anyone in the audience has a question, come on down to the microphones.
Yeah, so we're not
Can you
at
please
that problem.
repeat the question?
So,
Can you repeat the question?
sure. The question was, how do you deal with the HOA specifically, that scenario? And yeah, that's one of the going to be the harder ones, but because it's such a different process at every condominium or that type of HOA community. So that's a cost that we're going to have to figure out as we go. But it's not one of the bigger ones. The bigger bites that we have to solve first. Then the bigger bites are like title and mortgage. Title we're solving right now. Mortgage, as my expertise as a loan officer, so I know pretty much how to handle that part. The HOA piece we'll have to do manually until we figure that part out a better way.
Okay, last question here.
Yes, I have a number of questions. Of course, the first one is escrow is a legal entity and an enforcer. If you receive the tax statement, transfer statement with about 20 different bonds and fees, how you go, with your automation system, how you're going to analyze it. But even more difficult, you are required to explain all items to the borrower, to the buyer of a
Right.
property. And talking about HOA documents, HOA has accounting reports, and many of the reports, the numbers are not very clear. And as a title company, you're supposed to work with the agent to explain the number. What if there is a pending litigation? How are you going to handle that? I am the president of my own local HOA, so it's a very difficult situation. And the law requires escrow to be an enforcer. What if a seller is doing something but not doing it for 2 days late? What's the mechanism for enforcement?
Right.
And right now, the most popular.
Let him answer the question.
Sure. Yeah, those situations, I've been through those situations before. There was a piece on our cost structure that we couldn't automate away. Scenarios like that would fall into that piece where we had to handle manually. So there's really no automatable way around that scenario. Not anything I can foresee right now. But there are things like communications, emails, that we can do more securely, and we can handle the money depositing a lot more securely. You don't have to go off and do a manual wire, for example. But like being able to estimate costs from an HOA, we're basically an input taker there. Whatever the costs are delivered to us from HOA, that's what we deliver on the closing statement. Not much we can do about that right off the bat.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks, John. Give him a hand.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Great. Great. Our next pitch will be from a business called the Soundbar. They're revolutionizing the music industry by providing digital recording studios on a subscription basis. Come on out.
Hey. Hello, how you doing? My name is Dwayne. I'm the founder and CEO of the Soundbar, where we use technology, recording studios, and innovation to destroy the barriers to entry into the music industry. So right now, it's 1 million steps that you have to go through in the music industry to release every single song. So because of all these steps, each one of those steps are their own multi-billion-dollar industry. So what I did was took everything and put it under one roof to efficiently solve all their problems. So I took the best parts of a co-working space and the best parts of a major recording studio and put them together to create the Soundbar. Right now, traditional recording studios have a max capacity of about 10 to 20 musicians per day. They record your song, make it sound amazing, whether it's released or not, they don't care, they need the turnover. For us, we use technology and design to drive our capacity to well over 350 people per day. And because of that, we're able to change the business model at its core. Where everyone charges per song or per hour, we charge monthly. So that means one price for unlimited recording, one price for unlimited beats, unlimited mixing, unlimited everything you need to maintain, start, and grow your career. And we do that with technology. So because we're working with so many people, we created was basically the Uber of audio engineering. That means you can be in the Soundbar and your engineer can be in a whole nother country. Not only that, the engineer, every song that they mix or master, where they actually are training our artificial intelligence to get better, faster, and cheaper. Now, when it comes to releasing music, we created advanced distribution. That means with distribution, really, is just taking your song and placing it on Spotify or Apple Music or any streaming service. I don't know if you guys know, but Spotify releases over 25,000 songs a day. You can't listen to that many songs in your lifetime, so it doesn't really matter if your song's on all the streaming platforms. So what we do is take your song, we put them on the platforms as well, but we place them in local venues for real DJs to play your song. And on top of that, our technology ensures your rap songs go to the rap venues, your pop songs go to the pop venues, and so on, to ensure maximum reception by listeners who really want to hear your type of music. Our entire suite of software is innovative and is independently scalable. Now, our competition is every single studio in our area of operation, and we're on the offensive. Our price point is strategically designed to make it cost ineffective to compete with us until they shut down. It's kind of mean, but that's just how it is. When it comes to our executives, we're business people, and men and women through and through. Our in-studio personnel, they're second to none, and it's their job to create an easily repeatable model for all of our studios. Our projections for 5 years is to go from 1,000 monthly members to 2,000 monthly members, from spending $350 per month each member to over $1,100 per member, and to build 75 studios. That's my personal number. We're raising a seed round right now. We have follow-on investors. We're looking for a lead investor. And when it comes to exit options, we have plenty. You have companies like Facebook that has tried to make it in the music industry and failed so many times, it's not even funny anymore. Kind of funny. But because we have one thing that's important, one-button publishing. So if you push all the extra stuff aside, what that means is we will have ownership and control of content that will be growing exponentially and in number and in value. So when it comes to our customers, we can work with everyone from a Beyonce to somebody that just wants to do karaoke to podcasters and everyone in between. As far as the acquisition model, it's difficult, but it's cheap, and it's effective. And on top of that, every person that comes into a studio, they do the same thing. They take that selfie and say, hey, I'm in the studio, I'm working. So we leverage that to our advantage. This is the illustrations of our spaces. They're highly flexible. We do have hourly stasis, and we have premium locations, and we're actually going to be the first recording studio in the mall. Thank you guys so much for sharing in my dream. Please ask any questions.
Yeah, thank you.
So I guess from your business model, I assume this is the WeWork for music studios. Is that correct?
Exactly, 100%.
So I guess jabbing at the current event aside, how do you make the business not perpetually burn money like WeWork?
Well, when it comes to a profit per square foot, because like we're being in the mall, we are able to maximize our square footage. So that means all the big equipment, number one, the big mixing boards that you would normally see in the studio, you'll see in the studio, we don't have those things right there. All that big equipment, we're able to remove all that, and then we can maximize our profit per square foot. So when you look at our profit per square foot, it's well over $250 per square foot. And then when it comes to being in the mall, we're able to get very, very cheap prices down to, I got them down to $1 per square foot right now. I can get them down to even cheaper because malls, because of the Amazon effect, they want destinations. So we're actually, at the beginning, making profit. And then on top of that, when it comes to content, on the back end, we're making additional profit, but we're profitable just off of selling our space.
So, right, so the idea is we're investing potentially for you to open more spaces. And you have 3 spaces open right now, and are they profitable? Or?
The spaces that I have right now, they're just traditional recording studios. They look like this. I don't use the big mixer right there, but they're just the regular spaces. Right now, we're raising money to open our flagship location in the mall that would look like this. So that's right now. But right now, profit is not big in the studio space, the reality, traditionally.
So maybe one comment, one question. So on the business model, it's smart to be leveraging high vacancy rates in malls. Obviously, we're kind of all aware of that. But when I overlay where creative people tend to congregate and where that talent tends to be rewarded, it's not suburban settings, typically, right? So I would wonder about that as I look at LA and New York. Are you going to be able to draw people out to the locations where you have mall vacancies, right? Because those don't map into like urban environments all that often.
Yeah, so one thing about musicians is they'll travel to be with an engineer that they like, just to work with the engineer that they like. So, not to make myself sound special, but people will travel for hours to come and see me. No, I'm joking. But I want to take that from myself to where it's not an individual and put that in the brand of the Soundbar. So, like, they'll travel for an hour to go to their studio, and that's nothing special. A lot of artists do that. So the thing what we're trying to do is make it to where everyone comes to being, because musicians are their community, it's a collaborative effort. So you want to be around other musicians, you want to be in a space that you can feel creative and safe, and then, can work with other artists. So they'll travel, and then as well with building multiple studios, being in a space like, our first space will be in Del Amo and Torrance, and then being in the Sherman Oaks, and then being in the Culver City, it'll be in the space where people will come to a lot.
Okay, and then, and then I think I heard you say towards the end, maybe I misunderstood you, something around the content. You mentioned ownership and control.
Yes.
So are you saying that you are going to, are you owning the publishing rights to the content? What did that mean?
So what will happen right now, like right here, you can come and you can spend just $100 and record all of your music and then take it yourself and do the independent route and release it and do all the work yourself. Or you can be like a typical American and say, hey, I want to hit the easy button. And then you let us do it, and then we'll take a very, very small percentage. Astronomical when it's compared to a record label in these 360 deals. But we'll take a very small percentage to have that small ownership stake and that being able to have a little bit of control of it, and also be able to be someone that's, I would say, somebody that's going to actually do something with it and make money for you. So we're really, really valuable when it comes to that.
I've been trying to wrap my head around the location economics of Soundbar. And when I think about New York and LA, the two large markets for music recording, I'm having some difficulty. But there's one location that's still a primary market that just everything you said starts to make a lot of sense, and that's Nashville. Have you considered those secondary locations and secondary markets?
Oh, yes. Like I said, the goal is to build, my personal goal is 75 studios in the next 5 years. And our market for LA would be between 8 to 12 studios. But that's just LA. We'll hit the big markets first, the Nashvilles, the Miamis, the New York, San Francisco, down to San Diego, and then we'll start closing in on the smaller markets as well, because we can work with, because we're bringing the barrier to entry so low that we'll have people who can't afford to pay that hourly $25 an hour because you have to release so much content nowadays. So you're bringing in a lot of new artists and the new content creators, and we'll start with the big markets and then work our way into the smaller markets.
Okay, thanks. And are there any questions from the audience? Could you come down to the microphones in the aisles?
Awesome. Explained it perfectly. All right, so that's very interesting. I love that question. I left it out of the slides for a very specific reason. The recording studio market is $1 billion. Now, when I tell that to an investor, they're like, nobody cares about a $1 billion market. But what happens is the recorded music industry is growing like wildfire because of streaming, but it's well over 40 billion. And then you have the streaming music, and then you have the live music. All of those are driven 100% by this small recording studio market. So even though it's a small market, once we have control of it, that's where we're at the beginning. So that $1 billion market really pushes everything. And then in addition, musicians, they don't make money like they used to make off of their music. So when you're a musician, you have to do different things to earn money. And from advertising to being a brand ambassador to doing all these extra things, without the recording studio market, well over $100 billion of market money, of market industry would just go away. So that small $1 billion is not a reality, but that's specifically is $1 billion, and it's been even for a long time. like 10 years.
Okay, let's thank our speaker. Yep.
Oh, thank you very much.
Our next pitch is from Lexset, a visual AI solution for object recognition and visual search.
The artist formerly known as Prince once said that every day is a new beginning. My name is Leslie Oliver Karpus, and at Lexset, we're bringing a new beginning to how we teach machines to see. The computer vision market is massive. It's $3.5 billion today, with a close to 50% CAGR growing to $25 billion plus in the next few years. This is because every drone, robot, smartphone, and mixed reality headset is going to need good object recognition, good computer vision to interact with the worlds around them. The father of deep learning, Andrew Ng, says that data is the new oil. And to train a good machine vision system, you need data, you need images. And unfortunately today, the majority of that content is owned by the major tech giants. Without that, you're stuck with open source image data sets like Coco and ImageNet that tend to be insufficient for training the sophistication level that most people need from computer vision. And so what that leaves us with is the highest paid people in most organizations, being the AI engineers and data scientists, spending close to 80% of their time collecting, annotating, and cleaning image data. This is a huge waste of one of company's most valuable resource and a huge frustration to anybody who is working in computer vision. It's having people go out and capture photos with cameras and waiting for that data to come back, only so that you can then clean it and scrub it before you can work with it. Lexset has a solution. We call it training data as a service. We've built a synthetic data engine that takes 3D content and procedurally generates thousands and thousands of images from 3D content to be able to train machine vision systems in an incredibly accurate way. The benefits of using synthetic data to train your systems are as follows. First off, our content is already tagged before we start generating images with it. That means that our annotations are 100% accurate, which means the data quality of the models built with it is far better. This also means that we can identify bias within a data set and use our synthetic data engine to infill that bias. We've all heard a lot of controversy over various AI examples of bias, usually having to deal with race, and a couple of other areas where big tech companies have gotten into trouble recently. Lexset has a way to solve that problem by being able to infill bias. We can reduce development costs substantially because you no longer have to wait for photographs to come back, which means that we can enable agile development for AI, something that's never been possible in computer vision until Lexset. Because we're generating annotations from 3D content, we can do things like 3D bounding boxes, normal maps, depth maps, a whole host of rich data that is not possible with the state of the art today. So the images above me right now, those are not built by artists and those are not photographs. Those are from our procedural synthetic data generation engine. We did those for a major US robotic vacuum cleaner company that you can probably guess. And we used them to produce a vastly improved floor not floor model for them. So at left, that was the model they were using, the 80E20K model. At right is our Lexset synthetically trained model. And with no photographs, we were able to increase the accuracy of that floor-not-floor model by 15% to 98% accurate. So the status quo of gathering image data and having it annotated is about $2 to $3 an image. That's what most companies are paying for it right now. Lexset charges about 80 cents, well under $1 per image. We do this in a subscription package where we're charging companies about $7,500 to $10,000 a month to supply them with 10 to 15,000 images per month so that their engineers can work quickly and keep working instead of waiting for images to come back. We've done about $275,000 in revenue. That's booked revenue. We've collected about half of that. A lot of that's built into recurring revenue subscriptions that we're going to be collecting over the next couple of years. Our team is made of experts in generative design, 3D content. We were started as a spin-out of Intellectual Ventures, meaning that we have 38 exclusively licensed patents in the object recognition space that I can talk to you more about. I've won 2 pitch competitions this summer. I'm going for the hat trick today. Please please hand it to me. At Augmented World Expo and GS1 Connect, the major conferences in mixed reality and product identification. And right now we're doing a $500,000 pre-seed extension round, and this is to help us acquire 4 more clients, which will take us to break even so that we have maximum leverage to do a real price round in the spring. And with that, I will take audience questions, or your questions in the audience.
In terms of the synthetic images, it sounds like you're generating it. The way I interpreted that is it's like a rendering engine, maybe even like a game engine or something like that. And if that's the case, I'm curious, like what's protectable there? Like what's new and unique?
Sure. So we are using Blender, which we can stand up. Blender is a free 3D runtime, so we can stand up tens of thousands of instances of it simultaneously. The protectable parts of that IP are the rules that govern the 3D content, like chairs being relative to tables, being relative to floors, the way that we're draping cables, putting toys and random pieces of clothing, and then specifically generating that with an eye toward training a machine learning system. So it's not just the fact that we're creating synthetic data with a 3D runtime, it's the procedural algorithms that are telling that runtime how to change the camera angle, how to vary the content within the scene, and we do have 38 patents exclusively licensed that are around object recognition as well.
Seems like you guys have done a lot of the hard work already, which means the hard work now begins. How are you planning on selling Lexset to your enterprise customers?
Let's go to my go-to-market slide. So right now we've got pilots going with a couple of really great companies. In Context Solutions that does planograms for product placement in stores, Javi that does supply chain work for McDonald's, a couple of other large companies that we've been doing pilots with all summer. Those pilots have been going well, so we're currently negotiating how to turn those into recurring revenue deals. Then we do a lot of content marketing, writing blog posts, putting out content in different parts of the internet to get eyeballs. Our third, keep going to conferences like this one and meeting people that need better machine vision solutions. Then traditional stuff like AdWords and email campaigns is going to be the rest of it.
What does your sales cycle look like for that?
Usually we meet somebody at a conference, they say, I don't believe you. We say, okay, we'll do a pilot for you. We show them like a 98, 99% confidence score on a machine learning algorithm that we built for them on the pilot. Then they go to their people internally and say, look at these results, and they're like, wow, and then we start negotiating. And it's probably about 4 to 6 months from like where we start the pilot to where we get to the recurring revenue deal.
It's definitely impressive. One of the things that I was thinking about is, have you started to see any real business impact from some of the technology with the partners that you're working with?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Have you started seeing business impact, real business impacts in terms of dollars?
Yeah, I mean, just for our robotic vacuum cleaner client alone, we saw a 15% increase in the accuracy of the ML models that we built from them, and that was using no photographs. And so that means that our ability to supply them with new data quite rapidly is almost instantaneous. And so that as they want to retrain, for example, last week they asked us to produce 5,000 random power chords on 10,000 different types of carpet. And we were able to conjure that up like this instead of having to send a photographer out to attempt to collect that, which would be next to impossible.
Right. How does it translate to an additional business for your clients?
So each business use case is sort of its own individual story. I can give you an example of another one that was pretty interesting. So this was a mining company that makes down-the-hole chop hammer drill bits. Their technicians in the field cannot tell these drill bits apart because they're extraordinarily visually similar. They had us build them a mobile app that can tell those bits apart with 99% accuracy. And so getting to the exact ROI is difficult for me to calculate for you, but I can tell you that the time savings that they're seeing is quite significant.
I was struck by that, like, $3.5 billion going to, I wrote down 25 billion, something like that. That's really striking. Where is most of that growth happening? And a little bit how it applies to you.
All right, so 5G is coming next year. Verizon has stated that computer vision is one of the main use cases they see being powered by 5G, and that's for drones, service robotics, smartphones, autonomous vehicles, fulfillment robots, mixed reality headsets, and that's the computer vision market.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your questions. And we have time for a few questions from the audience. Please come down to the microphones. Don't just stay in your chairs and shout.
Hi there. I have a relatively simple question. It sounds from the examples you're showing that a lot of this work is related to images of procedurally generated environments or things that are kind of static environments or static objects with different perspectives. I'm wondering if there are scenarios where dynamic environments or maybe just explain more of the space of procedural generation you're working with.
So that's a great question. So there is a huge difference between dynamic environments and things that are in kinetic motion and static object environments. We are focusing on static objects. There are better ways to do kinematics than our approach, using Unity instead of Blender. The problem with that is that Unity has a per instance cost where Blender is free per instance. And so to get to the massive level of data scale that you need to really train a highly accurate computer vision model, it gets very cost prohibitive to do it within an animated environment. The other reason why that gets really expensive is for good animation, you're rendering like 60, 70 frames a second. And when you multiply that by all of the different procedural environment types that you need to create good kinematic information, you're talking about a tremendous amount of GPU lift. That's something that maybe we end up doing a few years from now when GPU costs are cheaper and when we are much larger in scale. But right now, it's expensive enough for us to generate synthetic data for highly accurate static object sets. Other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, let's
Thank you all so much. It's been a pleasure.
Our next pitch is from a company called Blue, and Blue is a revolutionary app that allows people to connect with and get to know people around them using Bluetooth.
There's no sound. The sound.
Is there sound?
Hello, my name is Jose Montero, and I'm the CEO of Blue. And this is my team of leaders that come from backgrounds such as Apple, Google, MIT, and we have over 80 years of combined experience. We developed the first mobile app that enables anyone with a smartphone to discover people and things autonomously via Bluetooth. So today, the most valuable asset of any social network like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn are created from manually created connections between the users, like friend requesting someone on Facebook or inviting them on LinkedIn. But what about social graphs in real life? Like here at this event, every single person in this room has an online identity and a smartphone, but yet you have no idea who that person is. After 3 years of hard work and over $500,000 invested, we developed and patented a technology that connects users of social media networks through a networking application using short-range wireless communication. This includes radio frequency identification, near-field communication, and Bluetooth low energy. Just by being in this room, we create a social graph of inferred interactions seamlessly between users without them interacting with their phone, aka while in your pocket. With data such as the number of times we cross paths, the duration and distance, and the time and location that we were near each other, we create a high-quality social graph with numerical relevancy scores computed and assigned to each user. Through Bluetooth Low Energy, Encrypted data is sent and received. As a user, you store certain data, event attributes, and interactions. Then once connected to the internet, the data is sent to our server where it's combined with our persistent social graph, creating a high-quality social graph. We developed Blue, the first decentralized Bluetooth market network that enables anyone with a smartphone to discover people and things autonomously via Bluetooth. You simply create your profile, slide your phone in your pocket, and as soon as you cross paths with someone in real life, you'll be notified in real time. You can get paid for your data, to be social, to shop, and to interact with people and things around you. We open a new market network where we allow businesses, developers, and applications to build on top of our platform. We introduced to you Bluetooth as a service, where businesses receive a dashboard where they can then add beacons to our network with fully customizable templates to interact with users as they walk by. We first tested this out at South by Southwest in 2018, where we growth hacked the event and had over 25,000 website visits, clicks to our website in 10 days. And in 6 months, had over 150,000 clicks to our website. There's many verticals that we can play in. There's retail, hospitality, schools, and even for cities that could use our technology. We have over 12,000 users to date on our platform and have been featured on these publications. We have an insane growth hack where we allow users using NFC to share their profile with people who do not have the app. And in the past week, we've sold over 500 of these. And for every dollar spent, we made $2. So the more money we have, the more money we make. So let's say in 3 years, we only acquire 20 million users. We will generate over $145 million. But what if we become just as big as the other social networks that you have in your pocket today? We're looking to raise $850,000 and are looking for strategic investors. And 65% will go into sales and marketing, 18% will go into research and development, and 17% will go into general and administrative. I have a vision that one day, Blue will be in everybody's pocket where your data become yours. Thank you.
Love the idea.
Thank you.
Can you talk about LinkedIn? Do you see them as a collaborator, competitor, partner?
I potentially could see them as a collaborator. They actually introduced Bluetooth Nearby last April, where if you go on your app today and turn it on, you're not going to actually discover anyone because they actually require you to have the same page open at the same time. So what our patent is it allows, instead of having to sync to discover people, we allow you to turn it on, and as you put it in your pocket, you're able to discover people passively from that.
How do you handle, there should be a reason why they did not do that in the first place. LinkedIn, I'm talking about LinkedIn. Probably something to do with data privacy, that not everybody wants to be seen by other people, right? So how do you handle that?
With data privacy?
Right.
Correct. So users opt in, and they're able to add any information they choose to share. Most of this information is already online. All we're doing is simply aggregating them all into one place. And through Bluetooth as well, it's military encrypted end-to-end. So it's hard to pretty much hack on that end.
Could you walk me through that user workflow, what it would take for me as an end user to be social and then get paid for it?
Of course. So the reason why I started this was going through college, I noticed that students weren't really socializing, but yet they were glued to their phones on social media. And so what I wanted to create was a platform where people can simply create their identity, put it in their pocket, and as soon as they cross paths with someone in real life, they'll be notified. So let's say I walk into this room and I'm looking for a lawyer or a developer. I could simply filter the room. I could see who's here. I could then notify through Bluetooth. And let's say you get a notification I could put like $20 because I want to meet you or $5 because I want to meet you. And the idea is you're not paid until you actually walk up and be social for X amount of time. So as soon as you walk away, then you're paid paid for being social. So the same experience is used by Amazon Go, but for retail, but we're just applying a social aspect to it.
I may have missed one piece, apologies. So I don't need that physical thing, but I could have it, and if I don't have it, then I can connect with someone else who also has the app.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so the cards that we're selling, right now the biggest challenge that we have with our mobile application was it requires the other person to have it in order to discover them. But with the latest near-field NFC technology, we're able to allow users to share their profiles without the other person needing an app. And to go for, it's optional, because eventually we're actually developing right now to where you could just use your phone for that same exact purpose.
Got it. I mean, the challenge I always have is when someone updates their phone number and it doesn't notify me, which seems ridiculous, and I imagine you are solving that problem.
Right,
for me.
exactly.
Great.
How do you prevent fraud in terms of, because this still depends on your smartphone or your card itself. How do you stop people from using someone else's card?
Like faking it?
Faking it, or using someone else's card, or going into a place. Yeah.
So right now, we're looking to work with a few colleges. So it would be registered with the student identification number. And then also, right now, there's really no way to really authenticate it without having them take a picture of their ID, which eventually we want to go into that way as more people onboard onto the system.
So this is a social network, correct?
Correct.
So obviously, we know the concept of the network effect. If we have one user in this room having your I guess, platform or app is not very powerful, but having everyone buying in is a lot more powerful. That is the concept of network effect.
Correct.
But what is your quote-unquote Facebook me moment to jumpstart or start this catalyst to start your social network?
Yeah, so like I said, right now the biggest, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Or was it magic? And I believe this is magic here, what we have, where you can share it with people without needing the application. And so that's how we're kind of growing the network, and as well as we're working with a few colleges and to looking to implement this technology into every student ID, not only to network amongst each other, but also access doors, and also provide beacons so they could provide real information to the students in real time. Does that answer your question? Any questions from the audience?
Thank you, judges. We'll take questions from the audience. Please come up to the microphones.
Thanks. Yeah, in the early days of iPhone, not with BLE, but with GPS, a lot of people tried these kinds of networks with Looped, with anonymous discovery. It was like Creep City. Basically, anyone who's attractive, a good lawyer or a physically attractive person would be stalked, and it just didn't take off with the GPS.
Correct.
What's different about your approach, and what have you learned from those mistakes?
That's a great question. Thank you. And so what differentiates us from GPS is GPS requires internet. So one, it doesn't work offline. Second, it puts your location on a map. So it was a big privacy concern for a lot of people, because there was a company called Highlight that was released at South by Southwest in 2014. And it got a lot of traction there at the event, but once it got outside of the event, no one really got on it. However, if you go on Snapchat today, Snapchat actually has a map mode where it shows you people around you, literally their location. We don't believe in that. We want to stick to Bluetooth, where it's safe, secure, and private. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, we have our last pitch coming up. It's from a company called Evame, whose mission is to empower and nurture every human spirit, one hairstyle at a time. Come on out.
Evame, saving lives one head at a time. Ask a woman about her hair, and she'll tell you her life story. Hair is the most intimate and fundamental aspect of who we are and our self-expression. It's tightly tied to our identity, our self-confidence, health, and well-being. However, a bad hair day rocks that confidence, and it truly does sour the mood. Ask any woman. My name is Maria, and I am CEO of EVVEMI, personalized recommendation and engagement platform for beauty services driven by data. Myself and my brilliant team, as well as my advisors, have been assembled from consumer products, healthcare, and technology to tackle one of the hardest problems that is out there today. What does it truly mean to look and feel good? Is anyone else in digital overload? Hair is a social jungle. From overnight influencers to pretty pictures with millions of likes and bullshit recommendations from people that we have no idea, as well as recommendations from our friends. And sad, none of this has anything to do with who we are and our hair type and what we truly need, which is why 70% of all hairstylist and client relationships fail. Yet, data hidden in things like personality attributes, our hair types, what's going on with the type of diet that we have, can be utilized to solve the issue for 68% of women who are currently unhappy with their hair. Which is why EVVEMI believes each and every individual's unique hair data is vital to a successful engagement. We collect that information, we utilize proprietary algorithms, and we use that to match you with providers and products, and then provide tools for you to continuously engage throughout the life cycle of your beauty regimen, growing, learning throughout any kind of life stage change. And data is at every intersection of the transaction on the EVVEMI platform. We build beautiful profiles for consumers with that data. We share those profiles with their proprietary hairstylist. The hairstylist will then utilize that to engage with them, the proper services, for the proper amount of time, which allows them to continuously grow and flourish. And for hairstylists, the magic also exists, in which they are screened and vetted, they're accepted into the network, and then with a flick of a switch, they're able to identify preferences that allow them to pick what types of clients that they wish to have in their chair that service their specialties, as well as ways that they want to grow their business. First time ever. Yet, there is no meaningful technology platform that has truly touched this industry, and it's huge. $82 billion in hair services alone. Yes, and $32 billion of that represents unhappy women, which is our target market. We have diversified revenue models in which we're charging 5% service fee from the customers. We charge $75 subscription fee from the hairstylists, and that is much less expensive than what they're currently using for their marketing spend. And our future monetization model allows us to take the data that we're collecting and utilize it for good in a safe, anonymized environment in which we can share that with product companies as well as healthcare companies and the like. We have a customer acquisition strategy which is built off of our backgrounds. So we've established relationships with product manufacturers, with cosmetology schools that allow us to onboard our hairstylists, and we are establishing relationships with relocation companies and corporates to identify wellness programs so we can immediately have access to a mass of customers. We leapfrog our competition in which we focus on the core attributes that truly matter for what makes a successful relationship between you and your beauty provider. Unlike our competition such as Yelp or StyleSeat, who focus solely on booking and rating. We're raising $1.5 million seed round to scale the already success that we've achieved with raising retention rates from 30 to 92%, and a network effect of where hairstylists are recommending 3 of their colleagues when they're accepted into the network. Thank you, and I look forward to working with you to help save lives one head at a time.
Can you talk a little bit about where your name comes from?
Yes, thank you.
And one more, real small one there is, you mentioned Yelp as a competitor. How do you see that?
Sure. So first, our name came from ever-changing, ever-transforming, EVVEMI, and the two co-founders, Evan and myself, Maria. So we did a little funny stuff on the name. We wanted to be able to also transcend, not just focusing on beauty services. If we needed to take this into other industries, it would allow us to do that with the brand. As it relates to Yelp, why we say Yelp, it's the #1 channel that hairstylists currently use to acquire their customer base. So they spend anywhere between $450 to $650 on a monthly basis. What they have found is if they wish to continue, they might be getting 1 to 3 walk-ins on a weekly basis, and that's how they have to sustain their business. And if you remember what I said, so for every 10 people that come through that door, they'll only retain 3. So that's not very good numbers when we look at the spend aspect of Yelp. But Yelp also, from what we know, because one of our board members also worked at Yelp, they suppress your recommendations if you choose to discontinue your relationship with them. So that doesn't help them if that's their only sole purpose of acquiring new customers.
So it looks like you have 2 cohorts of customers. One is the actual end customer, and then you have the beauty professionals, right? After speaking to a couple L'Oreal pros, one thing they really care about, like when you're at a certain level, like the customers will come. What a lot of people care about is how you could filter out some customers who you might not want to work with, right? So EVVEMI might do an amazing job of pairing people together. Is there a way to, take into consideration that they've burned through 5 professionals on the platform, so they almost like an Uber internal rating?
Yeah, so what we've done is we've recognized a way if they're actually abusing the system, right? Because there are consumers out there that will try to get free services. In fact, even influencers will work with those types of L'Oreal pros and they'll say, do my hair for free and I'll do a shout out. Yeah, so what we're doing is, no, we're not driven off of the 5-star recommendations. We're trying to change the behavior around that. All we're doing is saying, did you like the service on both sides? So did you like your client? Did you like the service? And if not, what happened? And we're asking them a myriad of questions that are very structured. So again, collecting structured data, unstructured data. But go ahead.
Do you have any other value adds in the pipeline for your professionals? Like scheduling and stuff like that?
To be honest with you, we have several L'Oreal pros. We have top educators that are on our network. They came to us, and just to the point of what you said, they get to a certain level. They have spent a lot of time and money on building their profession, but yet consumers who actually walk through the door, who are walk-ins and whatnot, want inexpensive services, so do not appreciate the value of what's being presented to them. So they try to cheapen what service can be provided. We've allowed them to trigger the right clients who actually have to identify what their beauty budget is and how much they spend, so then the right person gets into the right seat, which is why we've actually shown where we can grow retention with them.
So, question about the matching algorithm that you have, the matching algorithm between
say that again?
The algorithm that matches
Yep.
a customer to the hairstylist. Where did you get the training data for that?
So we've pulled in, for instance, we started with 22,000 records that we acquired from a couple of our product manufacturer reps, which included revenue spend. So for 1 second, what you need to understand is there's no way to identify true quality. What they use is how much you charge for a hair appointment, for a cut or a color. What we've learned is just because you charge $350 in Beverly Hills does not mean, 1, that you are actually licensed, and 2, that you've maintained your education. So we've pulled in those 22,000 records, and we actually filtered through them to identify what we would go out with our beta. But those records had, they're all people in California, so from California down, from San Francisco down to LA. So we started to train the algorithm and identify what we needed to pull in from self-reported information as well as other data that we're collecting from those product manufacturers, as well as online and what we're pulling in from social channels and whatnot.
Do you believe there's a market for this product for a male audience? And,
I have men. Yes, very, very much so.
Right, but which would increase your total addressable market by 100% immediately.
You know, it's interesting. I've gotten this question before, and I've been told, well, you know, I just go to Supercuts. And I said, but if I took a razor to your head, and it's happened by a barber that you walk into that you don't know, right, and you're sitting in their chair. If they cut your hair and your sideburn happens to be uneven, how do you feel?
I want a refund.
So what we're trying to help you understand is there's actual value in working with somebody who understands you. And more importantly, there's actually a health aspect. Every single person in our network has identified a chronic condition on their client before a doctor. So working with the same person where you're establishing a relationship not only benefits you from the services that you're getting, but also long-term, any other impacts that might arise.
On the user side, what is the hair data?
So on the, what data that are we collecting?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was reference on the user side to hair data and epigenetic. Like, how am I, if I'm coming on the platform, what am I inputting to help the algorithm or the matching component on the other end know what it is I'm looking for?
Yep. So we are pulling in everything from your hair type, so your self-identifying hair type, obviously demographic data. Epigenetics consists of lifestyle, nutrition, diet, and we're pulling in product preferences, so we do understand what products you're actually utilizing. When was the last time that you had any services, color or cut, how much money you spend on a monthly basis. So we understand those thresholds as well. And am I forgetting anything?
So we also consider a myriad of hair challenges that are associated with specific hair types.
Thank you.
So through that combination, we actually create unique combinations of matches.
And allergies, that's a big one. By the way, yeah, a real big one. Yeah. So, I mean, especially in the entree of clean green products, and what we're realizing is many people actually do have sensitivities and allergies, so we've pulled in that data as well.
So it looks like EVVEMI is selling that visual dream to their customers, right? They look better, feel better, like $1 million. I strongly suspect that you have no issues getting the professionals to onboard, but when it comes to, you know, Jane everybody out there, right? This is for something so visual. What platforms are you using, like, you know, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, to kind of get people to jump on board the platform?
Yeah, so we do utilize social channels to the greatest extent that we possibly can without buying users. We've actually seen, by the way, without spending any money over the course of since we started, where Instagram has grown, we get engagement from anywhere from 20 to 50%. And from that, we have had requests as far as Dubai, from Europe, from South America, to utilize our platform from both the consumer and the hairstylist side. And, you know, even in the visual aspects, we have to understand that, yes, we're very human and we're driven by visual aspects, but there are a lot of hairstylists out there that do Photoshop their pictures. So that's not accurate, which is why I said, you know, even beautiful pictures that have millions of likes actually means nothing to me. So it does matter, and it will draw them in, but it's, I think, the other aspects of what helps them to continuously engage.
There's also Maria, you've experienced this. There's also a high level of fatigue when you're going through Instagram trying to find your hair type and the exact picture that matches that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Amber is a lie. It's so 2017.
Yeah. So from visualization of data as well, that's going to be one of the future things that we're implementing. So we can identify what your gender is, right? Hair type and things like that we're working through.
Is there any more time for questions, or?
I'm sorry?
I'm asking the
I think we have another minute.
So what is, how did your decision-making go through using user-reported data instead of, say, hairstyle reported data? Because if you ask me, I have no idea what my hair, I guess, what the hairstyle should be or what the hair makeup is. So my self-reported data would be completely inaccurate.
Well, so a couple of things that we do know, so we bring in characteristics that are known, right? So Asian men and Asian women have very different hair. Even the way that it grows is different. So the styles that would be recommended to you would be based off of those types of aspects, and you would see people like me. So it would be more inclined to deliver you a rendering of different aspirations that are more like you, in line with you. Your hair challenges, as Evan had mentioned, some of those other things, because if we have thinning of hair, if we have curly hair, do you know that there's 4 different types of curl? There's 3 different types of wave. And so we have to go through those different aspects to get to that granularity so we can best recommend what type of style is for you, but that's actually going to be between you and your hairstylist. As far as what we're going to help you with and visualizing it, that will be provided, but at the end of the day, it's when you sit in that chair, because they are the expert, should be deciding on and helping you to decide what you should be getting. You know, one thing I didn't mention, and I'm going to take, and I'm sorry, the liberty of doing it.
Pardon me, I'd just like anyone in the audience to come down to the microphones if you have any questions
sorry.
while we finish up here. Go ahead.
Quick question, I just wanted to know if you're thinking about maybe gathering hair samples at some point or partnering with one of the genetic provider companies.
Hence
like
epigenetics, yes, yeah, DNA at the chair, yeah. I mean, why not? UCLA did a study on hypertension in barbershops to show a conversion rate of, if we were trying to position tests to their audience base, could we convert them? What you need to understand is hairstylists and barbers have an 85% conversion rate for anything they tell you. So yes, very much so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we'll be calling everyone back out, so could you go back there?
Yep.
Call everyone out. Well, thanks for attending this year's Startup Showcase. We'd like to call out all the brave entrepreneurs who were here to pitch and come out on stage and take a bow, if you're still back there. Well, let me just go over that we heard a lot today. We heard the Internet of Things. We heard online transactions being centralized. We heard about real estate being disrupted. We heard about the music recording studios and being disrupted. We heard about image generation and AI training, a Blue.Social network, and the beauty industry. So anyway, we have at least one person out here. Thank you. And I'd like to thank our judges who will have a hard decision, and the winners will be announced at our networking session, which starts at 6:15 across the parkway here on the lawn. And just look for Subhash, and he'll be announcing the winners. And good luck, everybody. Photo.